I'm Rich Andreski, Bureau Chief for Public Transportation at the Connecticut Department of Transportation. And I'd like to welcome you to Along the Lines, a podcast series where we'll explore current issues and ideas on Connecticut's public transportation system. Hello and welcome to another episode of Along the Lines. I'm your host, Rich Andreski. New Haven's Union Station has been welcoming travelers with its ornate ceilings, elegant chandeliers, and tall arched windows since it opened in 1920. This architectural gem was designed by noted American architect Cass Gilbert and is listed on the National Register of Historic Places. Among Gilbert's other works are the U.S. Supreme Court Building, the Woolworth Building in Manhattan, and several state capitals, libraries, and museums. Not only is New Haven Union Station a magnificent building, but it is also vital to our state's transportation infrastructure and economy. Union Station connects the New Haven line running into and out of New York City and points in between, the Hartford line heading north to Hartford and Springfield, and Shoreline East, which goes to New London. It is also a key link on Amtrak's Northeast Corridor from Boston to Washington, D.C. and points beyond. On today's program, we're going to talk about New Haven Union Station and our plan to redevelop the historic structure to make sure it serves its important purpose well into this new century. We'll also discuss the downtown commuter rail station known as State Street Station. With me today are Doug Houselayden, Executive Director of the New Haven Parking Authority, and Carla Lindquist, Deputy Director of Transportation, Traffic, and Parking for the City of New Haven. Doug and Carla, welcome to the program.
Thanks so much for having us.
Thanks very much.
So in December 2021, not that long ago, we signed a historic new lease and operating and funding agreement with the City of New Haven. And I was there for that signing ceremony, and it was really to launch a new partnership with the City of New Haven for both Union Station and State Street Station. And Doug, you played a significant role in that crafting of that partnership. Can you give our listeners a little background on the partnership and what it means for commuters?
Sure. Thanks so much, Rich. And thanks again to the Connecticut DOT and the City of New Haven for continuing the work at Union Station and improving the experience for all commuters. The agreement partnership is a new 35-year agreement with 10-year renewals that allows for the City of New Haven and the state of Connecticut to work together towards a new vision for what is going to happen and what is happening surrounding Union Station. In addition to the station itself on Union Avenue, it additionally brings into the management of the partnership the State Street Station for the first time. State Street has great commuter rail access, while Union Station has all that commuter rail access plus our regional rail. The new lease and operating agreement really came forth right before the pandemic when we first met in February of 2020 after newly elected Mayor Justin Elicker and his team got together with Commissioner Giletti and his team regarding soon-to-expire original agreement from the 1980s. As some listeners may remember, Penn Rail goes out of business and the state of Connecticut takes over in receivership Union Station and other assets on the rail system, really launching Connecticut DOT into Connecticut Rail. In the late 70s and early 80s, the community came together, led by the then congressman at the time, to fully renovate the station, bring it back up to its glory days of the 1920s, as well as build additional parking structures to support the rail lines. This new partnership agreement will kick off on July 1st and will have a few key differences from the prior agreement. Most notably, there's broad agreement that is being finalized right now in our planning processes to renovate and redevelop Union Station campus. When we say redevelop, there are a number of surface parking lots that are owned by the state of Connecticut that surround the station. And these parking lots are going to be targeted for redevelopment with what's called a P3, public-private partnership efforts. So inside of this P3 effort on what we call the west lot and the east lot, there's going to be a new multimodal center, one that handles our intercity and intracity bus traffic, as well as creating new structured parking to the tune of 600 new spaces. So every month, the partnership will get together, discuss operations, talk about what's working, talk about what's not working, and most importantly for the commuter, talk about how to fix it.
Doug, yeah, we're excited as much as you are about this new partnership. The customer experience is something you mentioned, and that's very important to us. The customer experience is something that our daily and occasional travelers are looking for while they come to catch a train. The ability to pick up a bite to eat, um, purchase something for the train ride, or just otherwise relax while they're waiting for their train to come in. It's an important facet of what a train station is and does. Carla, I'm interested in your take on the role of the station in this partnership, on what that means for the community and the local economy.
Absolutely. I think there's multiple facets too. And I think the first thing is really a little bit symbolic significance. So having sort of an iconic building and a historic train station as sort of the welcome mat for the city has a lot of potential to really make that area obviously even richer than it has been in the past. And so the city is obviously excited about the connectedness that Union Station brings generally, but seeing even more traffic through there, more folks coming through, whether that's sort of on the business side or whether that's on the visitor side, that can only mean great things for the New Haven economy. And we want to see more innovation, more collaboration through that connectedness, making sure that people, when they want to be in New Haven and they need to come to Yale or they need to come to any of our bioscience companies or they need to come to any of our rich arts and culture events, that they have that opportunity, that they can easily access New Haven through transit.
For sure. And what's remarkable about our Union Station, there are many Union Stations around the country that have been redeveloped. Washington, D.C., of course, comes to mind. But our station is not only a phenomenal opportunity for development, but really is serving what is the busiest rail line in the nation. So it really has a transportation purpose and a strong economic purpose, and really rivals anything else that's out there on the national level. Throughout the 102-year history of New Haven Union Station, millions, literally millions of people have walked through that grand structure. And it's really iconic for the city of New Haven, but it's also a very sort of iconic landmark for the state. And our partnership, we have ambitious plans to redevelop that whole station. There are many elements, Doug, you touched on, the retail and architectural improvements. Can either of you, both of you, walk us through a little bit more about that ultimate vision? What is that vision for the campus? And for our listeners, what we mean by campus is the station building itself, which are all familiar, many of you are familiar with, but then all of the land that's sort of attached to that station. It includes the surface parking lot, parking garage, additional lot that is available for development. So, Carla or Doug, feel free to jump in on this one. What can we expect in the near and midterm?
Allow me to start, Carla, if I may, and just take us through a little bit of the past here in the 102 years. Before this station was constructed, there were two other Union stations in New Haven. Both, unfortunately, were succumbed to fire at the time, and then Cass Gilbert leads a revival to rebuild the Union Station on Union Avenue into the structure you see today. And what's completely exciting about the improvements being planned is we talk about a customer focus, but drilling down into what that means. Tripling the amount of retail, Union Station was seeing 4 million passengers annually walking through its doors, making it the 10th busiest Amtrak station in the country. With the expansion of the Hartford line, additional traffic is expected to continue to grow, and with improving service on Shoreline East as well as the Northeast Corridor, we anticipate even more traffic coming through New Haven Union Station. So getting to 30,000 square feet from 10,000 square feet is not the easiest of tasks. And There's a strong committee, a group of dedicated staff from both the city of New Haven and the Connecticut DOT working through our New Haven Parking Authority in order to be able to deliver on these plans that we're all hopeful to start to construct very soon. One of the largest complaints we receive at the station is the lack or the need of more restrooms. And what's odd to us and what's been very apparent through this collaborative partnership is that there were a lot more bathrooms in 1920 than there are today. And so part of our work is undoing some of the mid-century renovations that took away some of those passenger-focused amenities. And in addition to just unlocking some of these bathrooms and other needed amenities, continuing to improve and enhance the amount of retail available. So trying to work through our existing tenants in the building, those that are on the first floor or in the basement or second floor, places that we could return to public use rather than having private offices. It's terribly exciting to be working on a building that is a 100-year-old historic structure made by one of the most influential architects of the early 20th century. So this is going to be a multifaceted, multi-staged approach, one that will be leading to tripling the amount of retail, expansion of existing public restrooms, and improving a lot more of the accessibility to the station. And I'll ask Carla to kind of weigh in a little bit here too. Carla, I wonder if you could talk a little bit more about the Hill to Downtown plan and the vision for Union Square and what Columbus Avenue has meant for the neighbors in the Hill.
Yes, definitely. And I think that those are very important points here, that Union Station's not just sort of an entryway into New Haven and the state. It's also part of a neighborhood. And unfortunately, that neighborhood has had times where it was not as well connected to both the station and other parts of the city. And so we're really excited to see the reopening of Orange Street, which means that we can have better access between the Hill neighborhood, where Union Station is located, and the downtown area. And Rich, to your question about the redevelopment of the campus, the concept there is really to make sure that whatever additional expansion and renovation and upgrade of amenities happens at Union Station, that there's really follow-on additional development that surrounds the area, right? We want to make sure that there's as much transit-oriented development as possible, whether that means that there's great housing that you don't need a car for, whether that means that there are conference or large-scale event services where people don't need a car to access them. We want to make sure that those follow-on development components that happen afterwards are really seamless with the work that's going on at Union Station.
Carla, I love that you're charting the course. It's not really, as you said so well, it's really not only about the station, but it's about really that whole area of the city that's sort of been cut off for so many decades. And I get excited walking around in that area since Columbus Avenue reopened and getting to see the development that's taking place near Church Street South already. That's phenomenal, and really looking forward to seeing the changes play out over the next couple of years.
The important thing to remember is that this is about people, right? Like, you can't have a great neighborhood or a great train station or a great transit system without people to support it and people that it is serving. And so I think we're excited to see what this means for the people that already live in the Hill area, what it means for them in terms of expanding opportunities that they have, but then also, welcoming new folks to the city as well.
Carla, just if you could elaborate a little bit more. So stitching the city back together again is certainly, a very visible and tangible goal there. But I know that's coupled with walkability and bike and pedestrian improvements. So can you elaborate a little bit more on things to come around Union Station with respect to what we call active transportation?
Sure. And I think just to elaborate on what Doug was mentioning before about mid-century urban renewal, New Haven was really bisected sort of multiple times by the highway system. And I think looking at projects like Downtown Crossing, where Orange Street is now reconnected for cyclists and pedestrians to access Union Station from downtown, and the Hill neighborhood to access downtown, you see much more potential in terms of folks' options to get around their own city, and for visitors who are arriving at Union Station to access the rest of New Haven. And that's really important to the city as a whole, to make sure that we have really solid fabric in terms of our connectedness amongst our neighborhoods. And it also means that we can continue to build upon the great work that other folks have done at the city in terms of expanding infrastructure and facilities for cycling, and improving our pedestrian facilities as well. And so I think one of the things that's definitely coming up for the city is we're working on our Safe Routes for All citywide active transportation plan, and we're hoping to release the final version of that plan any day, and then present it to our Board of Alders for adoption. But I think the vision for New Haven is really to make sure that any mode is supported safely on our streets, and that you can walk out your front door and get to Union Station no matter which neighborhood you live in, and you can do that by bus, by on foot, or on your bike, and do that safely.
I can't help but think, as a frequent user of Union Station, how close the distances are really. So many destinations are a short walk, call it under a mile from the station, and yet it can seem both in that those distances are much greater. It's Downtown Crossing is so important because you can walk directly to the heart of the downtown, but it's really about the feeling of walkability too, right? Isn't it? It's about how safe do I feel? How comfortable is the walk? Are there amenities, crosswalks, and protected sidewalks and lanes?
Totally. And are there opportunities on my walk or my bike ride from point A to point B for me to grab coffee with a friend, or run into, a former coworker, or, whatever it might be? I think we need to make sure that those kinds of small interactions that sort of knit the urban fabric are embraced in the type of development that we do, and also the type of transportation planning that we do, trying to center sort of human aspects in our daily lives in the way that we do sort of these more technical and built environment planning.
So we've talked about the opportunity for the station. Doug, can you elaborate a little bit on the timeline in terms of when some of those improvements might come online?
We're presently in the process of a request for information and continually working on a soon to be submitted rezoning. So at the moment, we're looking to wrap up our RFI process sometime in the summer of 2022. With regards to the interior, you'll be able to start seeing work starting early in 2023 on renovations to the inside of the station and the concourse, as well as rethinking and reworking our wayfinding and public amenity spaces on the outside of the station. We're truly excited to work with the Union Station Partnership, Connecticut DOT, and the City of New Haven, and rethinking this customer experience and the passenger experience as they come through the station.
Carla, Doug, I know both of you travel a bit, and I'm wondering if both of you could weigh in on sort of a model city or project somewhere outside of New Haven that you look to for inspiration.
That's a great question, Rich. And, one of the stations that we've been really looking at, while it's not a publicly owned Union Station, Denver Union Station has seen historic, meteoric rise in development surrounding Union Station, Denver. We're starting to see the same kind of development pattern surrounding our State Street station, and to a little bit lesser extent, Union Station, although it is growing that way. there's about 3,000 new apartments are under construction and planned within a half mile of State Street Station. And every time a building comes online, it pushes the boundary of what we as a community thought was possible with regards to how quickly buildings are leasing up. The future of New Haven is extremely strong, and I believe that the future of Connecticut is just as strong. We have the St. Raphael campus of the Yale New Haven Health Systems is building a new 1 billion, 2,000 person tower for a neuroscience center, one that will rival their existing cancer center at the Smilo Cancer Center. So when I'm thinking about what does it take to have really welcoming, healthy communities in our built environment, I do look at other similar eds and meds and biotech communities for inspiration. Places like Cambridge, Massachusetts, places like Rochester, Minnesota. I've gotten multiple design ideas from Rochester, Minnesota, and have been very impressed with the Mayo Clinic's built environment and their participation in the surrounding neighborhood. Just like in Cambridge, with multiple partners and again multiple biotech companies and centers. We have a brand new headquarters being created for Arvinas, and AstraZeneca, which is formerly known as Alexion, are taking large space in a 500,000 square foot tower that has just under 115 parking spaces. When you think about that parking ratio, you really do get to experience other types of infrastructure that supports the real growth of a density of a city. And so instead of building a tower of parking, the 101 College Street is now building a brand new public plaza and park called Innovation Plaza. And this, to Carla's point about how do you get from Union Station to downtown, occasionally you have to take a break, occasionally you run into people, but you really do as a government and as a city need to provide those opportunities and those pathways. And so one of the exciting parts of seeing 101 College Street develop with a public park on its below grade parking deck is this is really just a expression of the 1910 plan for New Haven. That was a civic improvement commission over 112 years ago that was written by none other than Cass Gilbert. And the big idea back in 1910 was a train station that welcomed the region, where people could walk out of the train station into a grand promenading concourse that took you up through the hill, the medical district, and turned right onto Temple Street and brought you to the New Haven Green. And what we've been able to accomplish is really just that, with a ring of parks that are roughly a 4-minute walk apart. And if you're super familiar with New Haven, or I welcome you to look this up, you can go from Union Station to a soon-to-be created Union Square. There's also a Trowbridge Square and then Amistad Park. And from Amistad Park, you can go right to this Innovation Park, to Temple Plaza, and of course to Temple Street, where the historic New Haven Green is.
Carla, where do you look for inspiration?
The thing that's been on my mind lately, and I'm a little bit loath to point to Denmark for cycling just because that's what everyone does. But the thing that we've been talking about recently is maintenance. And I am looking forward to, as we continue to expand our cycling and pedestrian infrastructure, to be able to properly maintain all of it in a way that it's accessible year round. I think the biggest thing that we hear from folks who are a little bit skeptical of active transportation is, well, what do people who bike do in December in Connecticut or in January? And the reality is, if we're able to fully maintain everything to a very high standard, then we can certainly provide those opportunities for folks all the time. And so I think that's the thing that's been on my mind lately is just making sure that we can really have these robust facilities year round for folks, and making sure that they're really high quality, and to the point that was made earlier around, walkability and sort of aesthetics, to make sure that people want to spend time doing those things in New Haven, that they want to walk or cycle or roll if that's available.
Yeah, so we've talked about the station, the role it plays for our riders. We've talked about the importance of the station to the local economy, economic development, and of course, quality of life. I'm wondering, when you bring all those ideas together and think about 15 years from now, what does success look like in 15 years? And when I ask about success, I'm defining that very broadly, not just for the station, but for really the city as a whole as it relates to the station. Carla, why don't you take this one first?
Sure, thanks. I really love the idea that all of our residents will have amazing amenities and access through Union Station in 5 or 10 years. The fact that we can really make sure that especially our underserved communities have quality transit connections to Union Station. I know we're all working on that through Move New Haven, and making sure that, again, folks could walk or cycle or roll if they wanted to either get to jobs, go visit family, whatever it is that takes them through the station. That's my big vision, is to make sure that folks in New Haven are supported in the way that they need to be to really make their lives easier and more pleasant.
Before I give my answer, I'll just invite folks who are listening to follow along on the Union Station project. Head to unionsstationnewhaven.com and take a look at some of the prior work and current work that's going on, including a video of our January webinar on station area planning. In 15 years, I'm not going to tell you that we have driverless vehicles saving the day, because I'm not sold on that future. I'm actually sold on a future that looks a lot like our past. And as Carla mentioned, the ability to walk is the definition of freedom. And I believe that our future has upgraded traffic signals to have leading pedestrian indicators and concurrent crossings to make it easier and better for all users of the road. I think our Move New Haven bus rapid transit study is going to be implemented in 15 years and will be an all-electric rapid transit bus system, one that moves the bus and just makes the bus faster. And I think the New Haven Parking Authority will be, in our future, we hope to be a leader in a shared electric mobility future. And, I think a lot of people are going to be really impressed with how densely populated and densely developed New Haven can really become. Even while we might be one of the more densely populated downtowns as of now, I really truly believe that we'll be able to double our population in the downtown and surrounding areas, provided that we continue to build for New Haven and for the region, for our visitors, and make it more welcoming.
Yeah, very exciting future indeed. We think about disruption in entertainment, education, the information sector, and everything is on demand. And so the future too, I agree with both of you. It's about ease of mobility, being able to get around when you want to go, not having to own a vehicle, and just being able to participate in life with friends, neighbors, and family. So very exciting future. I really appreciate your time, Doug Hasladen and Carla Lindquist. Thank you for making the time to join us on the program. And with that, I'm Rich Andreski. Join us next time for another episode of Along the Lines. Thanks for listening to this episode of Along the Lines. This is your host, Rich Andreski. If you've enjoyed this podcast, please remember to subscribe and share.